We go for a little walk here on Woodland Avenue from Main Street is down there, Central Avenue, Main Street, Central Avenue, and then up here on Woodland towards campus. We've got a variety of houses. Some are kind of older, bluegrass trust houses, not bluegrass trust houses. All of these houses are in an H1 overlay, so kind of can't be touched by modern development. Some of them are divided into apartments. You can see multiple mailboxes on the front porch, things like that that are dead giveaways that these are apartments. Some of them could use a little TLC, like the right column there that isn't doing a great job of holding anything up right now. And there's some apartment buildings. So that is an apartment building there. And over here, there used to be a church and a parking lot, and it's now condos, which were controversial at the time, but seem to work pretty well now. And then right across the street, and again, there's that apartment building. And then we've got some professional office space. As you see, there's street parking, even though a lot of these houses do have garages and driveways. For whatever reason, there's still cars parked on the street, which is normal for the neighborhood. Also, we've got cyclists and pedestrians and things like this. We have the old gas station long time ago that's now Missy's Pies. Old Ramsey's, which is now Sassy Blue. The upstairs is apartments that I'm sure aren't great. Apartments nonetheless. And some other small retail in the back of Sassy Blue. This is a yoga Pilates studio here. That's for lease right now. As you can see, the big for lease signs. And then a small parking lot prior to some, I believe, financial service building there. So, starting with this parking lot, all the way over here, including the old Ramsey's building on the corner, which is at the corner of Woodland and High Street. And then going back, which we will walk here in a second after the light changes. Across the street there, that block of buildings, which is all retail now. There's a proposal to tear all of this down and instead construct a 8-story block-sized apartment building. So 8 stories, taller than that tree. The condos across the street are 5 stories tall for reference. So that's 5 stories there. They want to put 8 stories here. Part of it looks like 7 stories, part of it looks like 8 stories. In any case, solid wall with some doors along Woodland. So retail space along Woodland on the first floor. And then entrance and exit from the parking garage along High Street here. And then on the other side here, which we will see shortly, they want like a little open space area, little park. So we're going to stand over here at Missy's Pies, talk about these buildings. So this old Ramsey's building here, like I said, there's apartments upstairs. This is the old Ramsey's seating area there. That's all sassy blue now. This is Dollhouse Fudge now. It's been a number of different things. It's a little fudge shop, which is fun and good, fudge. This is Thundercat's skate shop, and this is actually an entrance to residential, which goes upstairs, and so there's apartments up there, entrance there. Then we have Subtext Vintage Shop next door here, and also apartments upstairs. Definitely apartments upstairs there. And then this is another Pilates place. It used to be a clothing place. Recently turned into a Pilates place on the corner. It used to be called Boxwood and Birch. Across the street, this direction, is Maxwell Elementary. Walk across the street, try not to get smashed. Maxwell Elementary is there. Okay, so Pilates here, and then along this gorgeous blue wall, when you get past it, there's another small apartment building entrance. This is attached to the Pilates building, so it looks like two, maybe one apartment there, and then some entrances in the back here, which are back entrances to some other apartments behind here. I believe that this part will be open space, and either this house, 473, or this brick house here, one of these gets preserved and doesn't get torn down. But that is the plan, largely in the style, strangely, of Maxwell Elementary, which is, this kind of concrete, I don't know why I can't zoom, it's kind of concrete, weird dimensional concrete exterior that is emblematic of all the schools that were built in that era. Lots of them, Picadome and Ashland, all look the same. But that would be right across from this eight-story apartment building, which, let me zoom out, would be here. Taking up this whole block. The 8 stories is really kind of crazy in a neighborhood, in my opinion, in a neighborhood where almost everything is 2 stories tall. But as we will see shortly, because you're going to go on a walk with me, not out of character for what they want to build. So I'm not going to make you listen to me the whole time, but we're going to walk down East Maxwell here towards Rose Street, and I'll be back. All right, picking back up. We are walking along Maxwell Street and close to Mickler's, which is a florist and Kentucky Native Cafe over here, which is a great part of the neighborhood. Fits in great, works. You can see some of the housing stock along this street, 2 and 3 story older buildings. It is worth mentioning that a lot of that neighborhood back close to the proposed development is in a H1 historical overlay, which does protect, basically it protects it from development changes. So for better or worse, and sometimes worse, protects it from changes. So H1 overlay, historical overlay back there, protecting a lot of those houses, but the buildings that they're planning on tearing down are specifically carved out, not included in that H1 overlay, which was created in 1998, 28 years ago, and is protecting a lot of the character of the neighborhood. At the time, it was in fashion to build on huge, like to the back of existing houses. They were building on apartments cheaply, and turning that all into student housing in adjoining neighborhoods. And so I believe that the H1 overlay was largely a response to homeowners in the area adding student apartments onto the back of their houses and taking, the backyards and things. Of course, now we have accessory dwelling units that are allowed. Those were not allowed back then. That's relatively new. So there have been changes, but that H1 overlay continues to be in force in the area. Some of these houses are what I would consider kind of iconic university neighborhood for Lexington looking houses, especially ones like this with the big columns. These are all multi-unit dwellings, of course, mostly rented out to students. And when school is in session, which it is currently not, you get a lot of people in front yards, playing beer pong and cornhole and things like that. This house here had a big tree fall on it a few years ago. The tree was right here by the front driveway, fell onto the house, smushed it real good. 303, it looks like it's 3 apartments. They did a really great job of refurbishing it, fixing it all up, making it good. This apartment complex here on the corner, not in such great shape. But here we are at the corner of Rose and Maxwell, where you can see they're getting ready to change the traffic lights to one big blue pole for some reason, but that's fine. Now we have this. So we're one stoplight away from where we were before, talking about the proposed development. And so now we're at the corner of Rose and Maxwell, and the house is this building across the street, which we're looking at right now, and the building to its right, it's that way, will all be torn down soon, most likely. So very, very likely that these are getting torn down for what will likely be a 4-story block-sized apartment building, if I had a guess. And that includes this house here, which is already looking kind of vacant. And the house behind it, the street behind it's Kalmia Avenue. This we're walking along is Maxwell, East Maxwell. See, across the street is the University of Kentucky. So it's directly adjacent to UK, right there in the Hardiman building and whatnot. So these houses here likely will be torn down earlier. Within the past 6 months, there was a zoning fight where they wanted to build a 8-story hub here. That did not pass, but the current zoning does allow for, I believe, a 4-story building. I could be wrong, but I believe it's a 4-story building is the limit, which is a nice, walkable, or a nice limit that integrates everything in with the neighborhood. These buildings in the back are facing on Kalmia. They would be torn down as well. The 4-story limit is a nice human scale limit where the building integrates into the neighborhood pretty well. People, even on the 4th floor, still feel like they're part of the neighborhood. Whereas when you get people up on the 8th floor, feel pretty separated from the world below. So most likely the Sigma Chi building will be going as well, and I'm sure they will relocate. And the corresponding building that's behind it on Kalmia, which are all similar 6 to 8 apartment style buildings, most of them red brick, some wood, whatnot, back behind it here. Those would all go too. Well, all of this is across the street from the Maxwell, which is a new development. We're at the corner of, I don't even know where this is. This is Stone Avenue. This is the corner of Stone and Maxwell, right across from a sorority. This building here, the Crane, is a 6 to 8 story building, depending on what side you're on. 6 to 8 story apartment building called the Maxwell. This building, like I said, I think it's at least 6 stories. I believe it's 8 stories in part. It has an integrated parking garage underneath it. The new proposed building at the corner in the Woodland Triangle that we started the video off talking about has second story parking for about 50 cars, and it's something like 200 beds. So, 1 to 4. Some of those are retail spots, so maybe only 40 of them are for residents. So 1 to 5, 1 car for every 5 beds is the plan. That's why they can call it student housing, because they say that students don't need cars. The students might disagree with you, but that is the scenario that they are believing in. The sign here says that it's opening in fall 2027. So Maxwell 2027. As we continue walking down Maxwell Street, across the street we have the Gaines Center, the Max Cotta House, and other university buildings over here. They're all 2 to 3 stories tall. Yep, 2 to 3 stories tall, which will now be across from this 8-story apartment complex. Interestingly, we are getting ready to have another, again, 6 to 8 story apartment complex. Sorry. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories, plus a little bit more on the stairwell here. So maybe it's only 6 stories on this side. In any case, let's call it an at least 6-story apartment complex. So we come up here to Lexington Avenue, crossing Maxwell Street, and we'll see these houses here. Big green house on the corner, which was multiple apartment buildings. It looks like at least 6 apartment buildings there. Then this tan house here, and also a parking lot next to it, which surprisingly, it's before the fraternity, there's a parking lot there. That parking lot, this house, and this house. And then also houses that are down down Lexington here, which there's no sidewalk anymore. Might not be the easiest road to walk down, but we'll try to go down there. But down here we go. This is all getting ready to get demolished in order to build another 6 to 8 story apartment complex right across Lexington Avenue here, from the Maxwell, which is directly to our right here. So we got all of this preparing to be demolished. Interestingly, this is clearly an older 2 apartment building next to a relatively new 6-unit campus properties building, which is also getting torn down, obviously. And then also a relatively new, looks like 4-unit apartment building here with the peaked roof right there. The power's already been disconnected from a lot of them. It looks like the meters are out as Porsches drive by. And then this little house, 261, you're already seeing some, the trees are being trimmed. This was the parking lot for that 6-unit apartment complex there, which is also getting torn down. Maybe that's 12 units. It's at least 6 units. And then you can see behind it a 4-story kind of continuous roof. That roof is apartments along the next street, which might be MLK. I'm not completely sure about what that street is, but those are relatively new too, like 15-ish years old. We keep going here. This 251, is getting torn down as well. It was probably, looks like it was four to five apartments there based on the number of mailboxes. Oh yeah, and it's got an addition on the back as well. So that goes kind of back there, probably 5 or 6 apartments. And then this little single family home here is the end of it. And then we're back into regular student housing, which is, for rent for the fall. It'd be a great place to live directly next to 2 years of upcoming 8-story tall construction. If you like that kind of thing. Probably the rent is a little bit reduced right now. So from all the way here, all the way down the street to the corner with East Maxwell, which is much further down than the Maxwell across the street. As you can see, here's the 3-story apartment complex, and then another 3-story apartment complex there, and then 2 Bluegrass Trust houses, I think, past it. That, is not new. That's the Maxwell kind of works its way around these buildings here. This whole block, with the sun shining in our face, this whole block is going to be at least 6 stories tall. I don't know how to estimate that. Maybe that tallish. I'm assuming relatively boring facade along the street here, unfortunately. We'll see if they bury the power lines, but I'm not holding my breath. And then so that's going to back directly up to this 4-story apartment complex on the other side of the road. Who knows how much space goes between those, but 6 to 8-story building next to a 4-story building, across the street from a 3-story building, across the other street from 2-story buildings, is what we're looking at. So 8-story buildings seem to be the developer's sweet spot right now, for whatever reason. The new proposal down by the Woodland Triangle, they want to do 7 or 8 stories. Over here, these are 6 to 8 stories, depending on the street that you're on. And not a lot of green space. Some, but not a lot of green space. Definitely a low ratio of parking spots to beds. Here's the back of the Maxwell. Here behind this parking lot of this apartment complex. And that is a street whose name I just can't remember right now, of course, over there on the other side. That is a one-way street that will dead end into the entrance. Well, it doesn't dead end, it turns now into the entrance of the Maxwell apartment complex. When that's ready in 2027. So that's the situation of campus and the developers gone wild. Developers are also looking to develop where Johnny Print and Phil's Market are across from the law school on South Limestone. That has the go-ahead as well, I believe. And they're going to tear down a block there as well. Of course, all of this is in the name of student housing. And the definition of student housing seems to be 3 to 4 bedroom apartments, all rented individually with less parking than you would expect in a city that doesn't have excellent transit options like Lexington. That's it for May 2026. We'll see how this goes.